What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing the film adaptation of one of the most famous video games of all time, 1993's Super Mario Bros. Brooklyn plumbers Mario and Luigi get the shock of their lives when they discover a parallel world populated by the intelligent descendants of dinosaurs. It seems they weren't destroyed by meteors millions of years ago, but hurled into another dimension, and now they have plans to rule our world. It's up to our unlikely heroes to battle the evil King Koopa and his Goomba guards, free the beautiful Princess Daisy, and save mankind in this adventure of a lifetime. Super Mario Bros. Has a horrible reputation of being one of the most, worst films ever made, let alone films adapted from a video game. Personally, I think that people are too hard on this film. It's got some cringy humor in it. Stuff that maybe don't quite make sense, or just maybe some lackluster attempts at referencing the game itself. However, I find it to be a enjoyable, fun movie that doesn't take itself too serious. And the movie really, when it came out in '93, you only basically had the first game, and it wasn't like people could sit there and look into like the origins of all these things that maybe Super Mario is based off of. Let's be honest too, they were trying to cash in on the studio at least was trying to cash in on something that was popular amongst kids, children, and marketed at them. And movies can do that sometimes. Case in point, any of the Schumacher Batman movies that basically were made to sell toys, and this is probably a similar situation, but I think that it actually, for being that, it actually had some interesting and imaginative, different, ways of going about it, and was kind of in a bit of a darker tone, for what it is, to me, the film actually is like cyberpunk dystopian Mario, rather than the kind of bright and shiny, blue sky kind of worlds that you typically see in Mario and everything. This is almost like Blade Runner for kids, as a kid, you kind of have to appreciate it if you grew up watching it. Like a lot of the movies I review on here, it's very based in nostalgia, and that's just how it is. I like this movie. Of course, I grew up loving it. Bob Hoskins basically carries the movie as Mario, and John Leguizamo's Luigi. Interesting choice here is that Luigi is actually the younger brother, where I think usually Mario's the younger brother, and a little bit more rambunctious, and Luigi's the older, wiser brother. Here, that is not the case. Bob Hoskins is clearly the older, wiser Mario, and Leguizamo is the younger, less, I guess, astute to things, Luigi. Interesting note here is that it's Princess Daisy rather than Princess Peach. Daisy was left by her mother by these nuns, and she was raised by nuns, and she was always very interested, of course, in where she actually came from. And she was born with this necklace with, I believe, some type of crystal or jewel on her neck that ends up being the thing that makes her able to transport into another dimension. And what is interesting about this thing around her neck is that these two other guys are after her for it, and these two other guys are also from the other dimension. And what it is, and this is the explanation of the movie's explanation of why, you know, like in Mario, like, you know, Bowser or King Koopa is a dinosaur or reptilian looking, is because the dimensions are split when the meteorite destroyed the dinosaurs. What it actually didn't destroy the dinosaurs, it split two dimensions, one being mammal, which is, you know, this reality that Mario and Luigi are from, and then where, you know, Koopa is from is where the dinosaurs live in that dimension. And once you get this rock around her neck, then it could then be, I guess, both dimensions could be intertwined with each other, and somehow or another that makes you able to rule everything. And that's the thing. Koopa is basically, you know, a Stalin, a Mao, a Hitler, any of those, you know, horrible, you know, authoritative regimes basically resembles what Koopa is doing, you know, in his dimension and everything. And, you know, so it's just sort of almost like by fate or whatever that Luigi meets Daisy and, you know, gets googly-eyed for her and somehow, you know, gets caught up in the mix of this, and the next thing you know, the Mario brothers find themselves in this other dimension. And that's how it basically, that's how the movie is, you know. And Dennis Hopper plays, you know, King Koopa. A lot of people would know him as Bowser in the game, but he just goes by King Koopa in this movie. And one thing that's very synonymous with the film is King Koopa's hair, which I don't know if it's hair or it's like scales, but like if you mention this movie, like my brain immediately pictures the way Dennis Hopper fucking looks. And I actually have the toy of this, which I will show you now. So yeah, that's just how it's always been. Like this movie and the way he looks, it's just fucking synonymous. I also really love the special effects in this movie. I believe they're by Stan Winston. I might be wrong, but it's definitely at the time when this stuff was at its apex, you know. And although you know, a lot of the more memorable stuff that, you know, when you think about practical effects like animatronics or puppetry or makeup, it's usually kind of based in the 80s. I think in the, you know, around now, 93, also probably even more evident is Jurassic Park, the original. Same year though, you really saw how realistic and, you know, seamless, you know, a lot of the effects were going in the practical world, and they were kind of, you know, they had reached an apex. And at times, you know, the very beginning of CGI was lending to some of that. And this movie is a perfect example of that. You know, the Goombas in this are a lot different than the games. And the games are like these little brown guys with like shoes or whatever. They're like heads with feet. To where in this, they're like these giant, broad-shouldered, you know, bodies with almost watermelon-like heads and very sharp teeth, and they're very like comical. Basically, they're a big comic relief in the movie, but they're so bizarre looking and strange that it is funny. But looking at it, I'm like, man, that the makeup and everything that went into those effects, like, really fucking good in that, you know. And that's kind of evident throughout the whole film. Like, the production design is really cool. It looks, you know, like very spiky, like punk rock, but like this, you know, sort of dystopian and prison-like. and you know, all the way the way the fungus goes throughout the city, which is actually the old king, who is Lance fucking Hendrickson. I love Lance Hendrickson. And you know, just the overall way this movie is it's fun. It's got some dark tones. It's got some comedic tone. It's saying something about maybe the way technology and society is going, and we could end up in this mess. You know, type of thing. And you know, it's just it's a really entertaining film. And I can't see why it gets the hate it does, you know. But that's because people want what they think Mario is, you know. And at this point, when people maybe see something like this, they just roll their eyes and go, this isn't Mario. But you have to remember, again, basically there was one game out for them to go off of back then. There wasn't everything that there is now, you know. So I find it interesting that they kind of took their own approach to it. And the creators of this movie, I believe, is like a husband and wife. Their name escapes me right now, but they did a weird little show that I actually kind of somewhat looked into before, and it's called Max Headroom. And boy, that is a strange show. It was sort of like very anti-corporate, very bizarre. I can't even really explain it. It's about a guy that was supposed to be this AI character, and the way they display him and like the satire he brings out is very, it's almost like they really were very consciously trying to make this movie and this Max Headroom show a warning about the way power corrupts with individuals, and we end up in a authoritarian kind of dictatorship, I guess. But there's a lot of that stuff from Max Headroom makes sense in this movie. But you know, I really recommend watching this. Again, I can't say you're gonna like it like I do because I grew up with it. But you know, if anything, you'll get a laugh out of it. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, you're just sitting there like maybe smoking some bud or something, or drinking a few beers, and not seeing this movie is just something you have to sort of watch because it's so fucking crazy. You know. But with that being said, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell. And I hope you're all staying safe out there, and peace the fuck out.